I have recently just hit a milestone that I've not been able to hit for probably almost like 15 years at this point. And I think it feels pretty good, if I'm being honest with you. And that milestone is that I stepped on the scale the other day and I was 149.2 pounds. Which means for the first time in probably like 15 years at least, I am under 150 pounds. And that is a crazy kind of milestone for me to hit. Because that was kind of where I struggled a lot. For the longest time, I was always like 200 something. And I would try to get there, try to lose some weight. I had like a couple times. There was one time I would like play Wii Fit for an hour a day. And I was also not eating as much. And I was losing like consistent weight. And I like brought myself down to probably like maybe 190 something. I don't know. From like 220 or whatever it was. It was pretty good. Thing was that then I kind of stopped and I got out of that. And then, I stopped caring as much about what I was eating. But then a couple of years ago, I started getting into Pokemon Go. Not only did I start getting into Pokemon Go, but I also started to just lose weight in general because I wasn't eating as much. And I dropped a lot of weight throughout like that first kind of energetic burst of Pokemon Go, we'll say. Because I was out there walking around almost every day for like hours and hours, exploring my town, going to new places, doing stuff, meeting people even. It was great. And on top of that, I also was not eating as much. And through all of that, I kept losing weight and losing weight and losing weight. But then there got to a point right below 160 pounds. And I just could not seem to, bury those demons. No matter what I did, I would always just kind of hover around 156, 157, 158, 159. I could never push past. Ever. And then I eventually stopped taking it as seriously. I was still playing Pokemon Go and stuff, but I started eating more. That was the main thing, as I'll come back to in a little bit. But I kind of fell off, and then over the next couple years, my weight kind of slowly climbed back up. And around the end of May of last year, I was sitting at roughly like 200 something pounds. And I was kind of back to where I started. And I was like, great. What am I going to do? And then I got that kind of big boost of motivation, which I've talked about many times before, right? When I met that one girl and I was afraid to talk to her for like days. And then I finally went and did it. And like I got rewarded for it. And my confidence just like soared through the roof. I started driving. I was going out more, going to new places. I got a job. Everything was going great. And in that time, my weight just started like plummeting. And I'm talking like weekend of Pokemon Go Fest. I literally lost like 5 pounds in 2 days because I was losing so much weight. I wasn't eating as much because, I was playing Pokemon Go the whole day. I was walking around like crazy. I forget how much I walked, but I definitely was like at least probably 20 miles. I don't know. I walked a ton across those 2 days. And I dropped a ton of weight. And then initially when I started working, I didn't really stagnate as much. And I was sitting at like 180 pounds. So I was like, I'm not too bad. And I wasn't really stagnating, so I was still going down, but just not as much. And I was eventually able to make it to like 170-ish. And then I kind of started to struggle again because then I started getting into the point of work where it's like I kind of, I'm just coming home and I'm tired and I'm hungry and I want to eat. And I made the big mistake of eating too much. And that would kind of haunt me and make it harder for me to lose weight than it really was. Because the real secret to me losing this weight now and to being under 150 pounds. Technically today, I weighed myself today. I'm 150.2 pounds. But, that was also like I did it after breakfast and stuff. So, it probably isn't the most accurate. But the reason why I lost all that weight finally was for two major reasons. Number one was that I got a job. Because it turns out when you have a job, you have a lot less time to you have a lot less free time to, for example, you just grab a bag of chips, you're just watching YouTube videos, then you eat like half the bag of chips. Or, you have like a big dinner and you eat the whole thing because you're watching a YouTube video at the same time. I've talked about the whole like watching things while eating before. I'm not going to delve fully into it, but I do think that was also kind of a thing as well. But just the fact that I would get home from work and I would eat something, that kind of stagnated it a little bit. But just having a job in general makes it so easy to just lose weight. Because before, I was just basically sitting in my chair for most of the day, or I was playing Pokemon Go, which, sometimes that was good. Like, especially when I was really motivated to play Pokemon Go at first. Yes, I was losing weight. But when I wasn't, when I was just kind of doing it as like almost like a quota, where it's like, well, let me go get like my 3 laps in at the park or whatever, then it doesn't really help as much. But when you have a job where you're consistently moving around all day like I am, you're gonna lose weight. And also build a little bit of muscle too. Not crazy amounts, but like you're lifting like 10-pound meats all day, so it's not like you're fucking the thing that is the hardest thing to lift in the whole day is like your fucking computer mouse. So, but the second thing that really got me there is just figuring out how to eat in a way where I'm not storing all those calories, which I know sounds like it sounds stupid, right? Because it's like, well, just eat right, bro. But I didn't quite understand how to actually plan out my meals, sort of. And not in like a way of like, okay, well, for breakfast, I'm going to have this protein. For lunch, I'm going to have whatever, for dinner, I'm going to have, this, like not like in that sort of way, right? But just in the way of trying to figure out how to balance the portions. Because what I would typically do for work is I would start out my day, have, like something quick for breakfast, not necessarily huge, but something quick. Then I would get to lunch and I would make that like the big meal of the day. And that would be like me eating a bunch of stuff, like eating like 800 calories or something, right? And then go to work, burn it all off, and then I would come home. But then I would fall in the trap of having something decent for dinner. And usually I was trying not to make it too huge, like, 400 calories or something. Like have like one of those little Red Baron deep dish pizzas, or have like a Stouffer's mac and cheese or something, right? Something that's easy to make, something that's not a lot of calories. But the problem, right, is that's still a lot, and usually didn't sit super well on my stomach at night, because obviously if I'm getting home at like 10 o'clock at night and I'm going to bed at like 12 or 1 or something, sometimes like usually the rule of thumb is you shouldn't really eat like food too late, especially like dinner and stuff. And so I made this big mistake for a while, and I was feeling like I am having problems here. I'm not losing weight, even though I am burning like shitloads of calories a day. And the reason for that is because I was eating too much at night, was the big thing. And because I wasn't actually planning out the meals really that well. So I changed my thinking a little bit. And I still do the breakfast and lunch thing, right? And then I go to work. But the big thing that I do is, first off, I actually take my breaks at work most of the time. I didn't take my breaks the past 2 days because I was really trying to make sure I helped my coworkers finish on time. But I was taking my breaks, and on my breaks I would just like have a banana or something, or have like a little protein bar or 2 or whatever. Something like that. Something that isn't that insane, but something that it's going to give me something. It's going to give me something to get through the rest of my shift, and I can also burn it off throughout the rest of my shift. Then, the big thing I did, right, when I would get home, I've already eaten, that banana or whatever, so I've already gone a little bit. But then I go home, and then I don't have, like, a pizza or whatever, at least most of the time. Sometimes, like, if my parents get pizza or whatever, I'll be like, all right, I have a little bit of pizza or something. But the key thing is I just don't eat that much when I get home. Which is, like, it kind of sounds like I'm starving myself, but I'm really not. because usually, number one, I'm not that hungry when I get home anyway. But additionally, what I did was I would just replace those like pizzas or whatever, right, mac and cheese, whatever, with something that's just a lot easier, to digest, and something that's not really gonna affect your sleep and stuff that much. So I wasn't eating those pizzas anymore. I was eating stuff like I would have a yogurt. And before, my thing was I would have a yogurt in the morning with my breakfast. But now I changed it to make it so I had the yogurt at night as, my dinner. And then maybe I got like a bunch of these Polly-O string cheeses because they were on sale for like a pretty good price. And I was like, I'm going to get some of these. And I bought so many bags of them. And I would take like maybe one or two of those and I would eat them with the yogurt. Not like dipping it in the yogurt or anything, but just like, I'd be eating the yogurt and then I'd eat the string cheese. And that actually was like a big leap. And I was losing like a pound a day or something almost. It was pretty big. And still allows me on my off days, I can still eat, a little more kind of crazy stuff, right? I can eat some pizza, I can eat bigger dinners or whatever, and then, gain like a pound or whatever back, and then just lose it, It's not a big deal anymore. And I guess just kind of going back to the whole milestone thing now, I honestly feel pretty good. And the thing is, I still have a lot of weight I could realistically lose. Like, I'm going to be honest, right? I still have weight on my stomach that I could lose. I still, especially my thighs are still too big, dude. And I want to lose some weight. And I'm going to try. I'm going to keep working towards losing weight. I don't know when it's going to stop because really, like, my big goal of like last year was my goal the past couple years has been like, I want to get to like 160 again. Now I'm 150 and I still want to lose weight. So I'm going to keep going. And then even after I lose weight, right, then I want to, I want to get in better shape. I want to get more muscle. I want to, just look better in general. So I still have a lot of work cut out for me. But the fact that I've gotten here is crazy to me because I've not really been able to do this for so many years. And I finally figured out the key pretty much. And I'm not going to say it's going to work for everybody because it's not. But in general, I think the biggest thing to losing weight, it's going to sound pretty obvious, but it is true, which is just figuring out how to eat properly. But figuring out how to not get a shitload of calories in right at the end of the night when you're not going to burn them off and then they're just going to become fat. So I think that is probably the most important thing for me. And what I found usually is just having, not crazy huge dinners usually helped. So if there's one thing I can say, it's that you should definitely take the meals in the earlier parts of the day more seriously. That, I think, is one of the big things because you have all day to burn those off. Even if you're just sitting there doing nothing at your computer, watching hentai, you're burning calories. Whereas when you backload all of that into the end of your day, right, then you don't have time to burn those calories. There's just not enough time in the day at that point to burn calories unless you're like gonna go fucking sprint on the treadmill for 3 hours or something. It's not gonna happen. So that's really my big advice, I guess. But for me personally, I feel pretty good to have gotten to this point where I have lost so much weight in the span of less than a year. And I didn't have to do some fucking, some weird diet pill thing. I didn't have to fucking get, surgery or whatever. I just changed how I ate. I have a more active lifestyle. And here we are. Here we are. 50 pounds lighter in less than a year. So, the one downside, right, is, when you have a wardrobe that is filled with things that are like large or whatever, kind of gets a little awkward when you're 50 pounds lighter. Like, I have this one shirt I really like. And it's a yellow shirt I wear sometimes where it's like, it has a couple like just little, like happy symbols, like a music note and a heart and like a happy face or whatever. And in the back is like this picture, like this drawing of like a couple Pokemon, like Meloetta, and I can't remember what the other ones are. But there's, Chatot is on there. And Chatot's my favorite Pokemon. It's the only reason that I It's the only reason I really wanted that shirt so bad. And I was wearing it for Tinkatink Community Day before I went to work, and it just felt really awkward because it was so big. Like, it looked like I was wearing my dad's shirt. You know, it's like when you're a kid and they want you to get like a smock for art class or whatever, right? So you don't mess up your clothes. So they get you to like bring in like one of your dad's old shirts or something. And it was like that, dude. It was almost like that. Like, there was so much room between my stomach and the shirt. And I was just like, oh my God, I need to get some new clothes. Oh man. Like, even this shirt too. Like, I can't really showcase it, but it's just, dude, there's a lot of space. There's a lot of space between my stomach and this shirt. And like, this is like a large, and now it's like I'm comfortably fitting into mediums. And like, even sometimes mediums are still like kind of huge for me. I don't know, man. I might be a small soon. I might be a small. That's where we're gonna go. Oh my God, dude. But anyways, I think I'm gonna get out of here because it's raining and kind of have some stuff I want to do with my day. But I wanted to record something at least. I ended up recording 2 things, so that's good, I guess. But I also I gotta piss. Really bad. I gotta go home. Oh man, oh fuck. I just thought about it. I really gotta make this amazing YouTube video, dude. Where I tried using YouTube's like Gemini AI for creator thing. Oh my God. There was some stuff that I was like, you know, it kind of cooked. And then there was some stuff I was like, what the fuck is that? And I just have to talk about it, dude. I know, you know, people have like shit on AI stuff for so long. Dude, I have to talk about this because it's like my actual experience with it. And I'm just like, wow, it's just something. But I'll save that for another time or maybe later or something. I don't know. Whatever, right? But yeah, I just can't believe that I managed to lose 50 pounds in less than a year. But here we are. So with that, I'm gonna go piss. So yeah, I guess that's it.